Hey kids, it is Mr. King. I'm here to teach you another lesson today. And what I want to show you is a really cool optical illusion. You'll notice that the lights are turned way down low because for this illusion, it is best to have the lights either off in a relatively dim room or turned down, just because it makes the illusion look a lot cooler. So what's going on is we are going to be doing a deep sea dive to see some creatures we could not see normally because they're so deep down underwater. It is going to be black. There's no sunlight that reaches here. So what I need is something to make light. So I'm going to use my flashlight here. So you might be wondering, Mr. King, that doesn't look like much of a flashlight. Well, it's not. It's a piece of paper. But I'll show you this really cool optical illusion because what we're going to talk about doing is we're creating contrast. Now, contrast is how well something stands out next to something that is either darker or lighter. So my black background here, it's dark, and my white piece of paper with a little bit of highlighter yellow here is very, very light. So the contrast is very high between these two. Low contrast would be the fact that there are drawings on this paper, on this plastic on top of my black paper, that are very low contrast because it's dark on dark, and you can't really see them very well at all. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my handy dandy flashlight, I'm going to go deep underwater here, and I'm going to shine my light onto my drawings. So I'm searching, looking, oh, look, you see these little fishies right here? Well, my flashlight seems to be working. Let me check over here for the jellyfish. So you can see it's really neat. It creates kind of this illusion of a beam of light, which I think is really fun. And you can go around exploring, finding maybe an octopus up here, and then let's see if there's any other creatures. Ooh. Gotta watch out for the shark all the way up here in the top of my image. So it's fun to do. It's a really cool little toy kind of to bring home in a sense, but it's art as well. It's a combination of science and art. So what we are actually doing is we have a clear piece of plastic that lets us do some see-through work on. We have a black piece of paper to create low contrast between the drawing and the background. And then we have a white piece of cardstock for our flashlight that creates a high contrast. So let me show you how to make this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn the lights back on. You'll be able to see things a lot better. And then I'll show you how this works. So watch this to see if I get the timing right. And let there be light. Ha! I've done a good job of figuring out how long it takes these lights to turn on. So here is my plastic. You can see the drawing on it, the black background, and my flashlight. So what this is if you would check this out, first thing I've got is this piece of cardstock that I will supply you with. Now, you don't need this. If you can draw a flashlight and you can cut it out of a white sheet of paper, then you're all set. These are just helpful bits of tracers. If you want to, there are blank rectangles to draw your own sea creatures. I've made them this size so you don't really make them way too big on the paper to not kind of have fun exploring and finding things. So really all you got to do is I would start in pencil, but for this purpose of this tutorial, I'm going to go directly to marker. And you are going to draw whatever other fish you want to create on here. So I can just do a really simple fish if I want to. It doesn't need to be anything fancy at all. It can just literally be like a little goldfish fish if you want to. You do any number of things you want to on this piece. Maybe I decided that I also wanted to do, I drew a shark before. Oh, what should I do? How about we also have, I don't know, let's just do a little kind of cartoony looking crab. So I'm going to create this crab. The entire purpose is just to have cool things to explore and find in the water here. And then the next part there's my little crab. He's kind of goofy. I'm going to grab a plastic sheet. Now, if you're doing this at home, if you're one of my remote students, please understand that instead of not everybody's going to have a piece of overhead plastic or plastic sheeting kicking around. If you have a, what do you call those, little binder sheets that you slide the paper into, those work really well. Or just as good is actually, and I've got one with me so I can show you. Sorry, I got to kind of step over the side to grab it. A big old gallon-sized Ziploc bag. So you take this gallon-sized bag, there's one side that usually has like a white little window to write stuff in. You put that on the bottom, you open it up, and you're gonna have to trim down your paper a little bit, but all you really gotta do is slide your paper inside, and then you'll notice that I've got a nice clear plastic here to draw on top of. So you just draw on top of this plastic here instead of the plastic sheeting we're using. So I'm gonna use the plastic sheeting from class because that's what my students in the classroom are doing. So if you're one of my classroom kids, guys, I am out today. My kids are a little bit sick Nothing huge, just runny noses, no big C right now, so don't worry about that. But I still have to be home because we can't have them at preschool, and that is a bummer. So what I want to do real quick is I want to have you guys follow along, do this with me. You've got the substitute in the classroom to help you out. And what you're going to do is take a dark color like a black, and you are simply going to outline whatever sea creatures you want. You move your plastic around, you get it done, and here's the best part. I know some of you are going to go, oh my gosh, this is so difficult to outline. There's so many tentacles to do. Well, nobody knows which way the tentacle is supposed to really look but you. So if you make a mistake here, don't sweat it. Just go with it, okay? Just work with the tentacles. Let me actually make one. Oh no, my tentacle's way off. Well, nobody knew that that was not intentional. So when I pull away my plastic, put it in one of these squares, you guys can see that jellyfish looks fine, even though that tentacle up there was a mistake. Doesn't matter. So I do want you to work with your mistakes. Move your plastic around so that you have your creatures in different places. I'm gonna go put this little moray eel here at the bottom. Not even gonna bother with that little nostril tube on him. Doop. And you can always make changes to them too. So like this moray eel, I'm gonna make him, I like him coming out of the hole in the ground here. I think that's kind of cool. But I'm gonna make the whole ground line going all the way across my paper here. But let's do this. Let's make a little change to him, and I'll show you over here. Let's add a cool little like horn on the end of him. Like a narwhal and a moray eel got combined together. And that's kind of the fun of this, is you can really combine creatures. I'm gonna put my crab on my ground line here to make it kind of make sense that he's on the seafloor, walking around. It doesn't need to be super well drawn for this. Just do a nice job outlining. Keep things relatively simple so you can create a bunch of creatures. I might put this little bit of sea sponge / brain coral over here, and watch this. This is one where, yeah, you're gonna make mistakes. I'm way outside the lines here. Doesn't matter. Nobody knows. Only I know that's a problem. Definitely make some seaweed down here if you want to. It would be really cool. And let's add at least one more thing. I'm gonna do, I love that anglerfish. I'm always a big fan of the anglerfish. I think he's just like the weirdest, coolest fish out there. Makes its own light, lures other fish in, has a whole bunch of teeth. Super neat. Somewhere between like creepy and cute at the same time. That just might be me who thinks that though. All right. So we're adding our outlines. I'm gonna call this good. Sorry about the dinging of the bell in the background. And I think that's, oh, gotta do the bottom line of the body. And one thing you wanna do is you wanna check your work. So what I would tell you to do is before you cut anything out of here, flip it over to the white side right there and you can see the stuff that you've added. Now, oh, look at that. I missed the eyes on my crab, but I can easily do that one without having to look at the drawing I did the first time. But that's great, because now you can check your work and see, did you miss anything? Did you make any mistakes? I'm actually gonna add an eyeball inside of my anglerfish here too, just because I like to. And you know what? Let's add some polka dots to Mr. Jellyfish here. So the other thing I would like you, or recommend that you do, is that you would add color to these awesome fish here. Now watch this. When you add color, just like we did the last project, take your plastic with that white paper behind it and flip it, okay? The reason why we wanna flip it is because now when we color in, we're not going to smudge any of the marker that's on there. Now for this part, when you're adding color, you can use the Sharpies, or I recommend just as readily for you to use the Mr. Sketches here, because crazily enough, on this plastic, this particular one that I'm leaving out for you guys, this actually doesn't smudge. It's really cool. The Mr. Sketch, it's got a little more kind of grit to it, this plastic, and the Mr. Sketch works fine for it. So if you wanna use the Mr. Sketches here, you definitely can. Doesn't matter which ones you use, it's all gonna work out fine. So basically any sort of marker is gonna work for this, any. So don't be afraid. It's okay, kids, you're gonna be all right. So I'm gonna add some color here. I'm not gonna do a ton because I don't wanna waste your time while you're waiting for me to do a demo. Get some purple in those polka dots there. I'm gonna leave part of my jellyfish clear because I think that's kind of cool. And you can do that for your fish. You don't have to have them all colored in, but I think adding a little color adds some real interest to the piece. I would actually take my time to color these all the way in, but I'm not gonna do all of them again because I don't want you guys to have to wait forever to get started on your projects. And let's do, it's between the coral and the moray eel, and I'm gonna choose the moray eel. In fact, you know, I'm gonna switch over and grab, I thought I had some of my fine points, apparently I didn't. I'm gonna switch over to this orange here because I think it's got a little more oomph to it. And you guys can see I can really kind of scribble my color on here if I would need to, if I'm rushed, simply because you don't really need to worry about erasing any of those black lines because now you're in the opposite side of the plastic, right? Cool, so now I got my fish. Let's pretend I colored it all in. I've only done a tiny amount of this, but now I'm ready for the last steps. Now the last steps are going to be to flip this over, take my scissors, cut out that flashlight. You don't need to worry about the rest of these fish. These tracers right here, these can be left behind for the next kid, or you can bring these home and just color them and make them look awesome on your own. Cut these fish out, put them up as stickers on the wall, whatever you want to do. But that flashlight, you want that. So cut that out. And what I would recommend is now you reach for your highlighter. Why? Because this highlighter is bright. That is what makes this really vibrant yellow here. I'll prove it to you. It's just much brighter than any other yellow in the markers. That's why it's a highlighter. So I think that makes a really good color for your flashlight. And then finally, the last thing is your teacher in the room will come and give you that black piece of construction paper. Now you're gonna take your plastic vellum right here, and your teacher should also have access at the front of the classroom to lots and lots of Scotch tape. And so they get the Scotch tape, take a little of that, and you put the Scotch tape on. Now, if you are at home and you are working with a plastic sheet, then you can use the Scotch tape as well. But if you happen to be working with those Ziploc bags or one of those like folder pieces, you can use those too. Put the Scotch tape on, and then all you need to do past that is shove your flashlight between the plastic and the paper, and you can shine it right on your fish. And that's it, guys. You got your awesome optical illusion showing off. Remember, it's all about the contrast. That is your vocab word of the day for this. And that's it. Make a really cool piece of art. You get to show off, use it almost like a little game. And I think it's a lot of fun. If you're doing it in the plastic bag, it works just the same. Really, there's no major difference to it. The only thing you might need to do is trim off a little bit of the end of your paper for both the black paper and the white paper just to fit inside of the bag completely. Okay? So have an awesome day. I will see you guys later. Hopefully I catch you next time in my classroom. Bye-bye.